What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. I'm your host, Love Coach Scott Katamas, and welcome to the Awakening World, our Saturday night show. And a reminder for people to please mute themselves because we're in a Zoom meeting and so we can hear all of you. So please keep yourselves muted. But we're going to have a wonderful conversation because tonight it's all about relationship as a spiritual practice. And I know that that's just a great topic for this group and for all of us. And I'm definitely going to want us to interact some tonight and also have more interaction tomorrow when we continue this topic, when we continue this theme. I want to start by welcoming all of the people that are in our Zoom room. As always, I see a lot of wonderful people that I love. We've just created such a lovely family, such a beautiful Global Peace Tribe family, and it's really wonderful to get to know all of you. So, and more, turn on your cameras. You know, it's really nice to be able to see all of you. So if you're willing to do that, that'd be great. And relationships as a spiritual practice. Oh, I almost forgot. For those of you who are watching on our many Facebook channels or on YouTube, come on into our Zoom room. Now, a big welcome to you. And I want to thank John and Summer Raymer from the Sign Network, who get us out to as many as 100 Facebook groups and pages, which is very cool. But you may want to come on into our Zoom room, and it's easy to do that. Go to globalpeacetribe.com, globalpeacetribe.com. It's our website. And just click what says register for the current summer season, summer for those of us in North America. And when you register, you're going to get the link for tonight, but you're also going to get the link for all of our shows, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday. And every show is unique and different. I'm curious who saw last night's wonderful show with Raquel. Krista and I are going to talk about that a little bit. It is a powerful evening. Of course, tonight's show that you've seen. And then tomorrow, we're going to continue this topic with 3 other wonderful relationship coaches. So every weekend we've got something wonderful happening. So register, come on in, come be part of the Global Peace Tribe. Well, one of the things I've really been enjoying is co-hosting with wonderful people. And one of my new co-hosts, I'm really enjoying working with her, is Krista. And you've seen her as a presenter on the show. And she just recently did this show that I really enjoyed, all about epigenetics and 7th generation. She is many, many things. She is psychic, she is spiritual, she's very scientific in her thinking, and really a lover of life. And something I've learned about her is that she's very curious. I love your curiosity, Krista. So welcome to the show, and thank you for being my co-pilot for the next 2 shows.
My pleasure, Scott, and thank you for having me here. And you're right, I am curious. I've always had more questions than answers, and it goes back to being in school and elementary school and high school. So I think I'm a great co-host in that example, because I'm going to bring a lot of questions and just always, dive deep into the truth. And so I think that's what's so beautiful about your show, The Awakening World, is that you allow us to have those conversations that go deeper, that help us understand the origins of everything. And it's just a pleasure and an honor to be here. And I'm so excited to have a dive into relationships this weekend, and having connected with Raquel last night and hearing her story. What a way to start the weekend, and to bring that frequency and vibration into what we are bringing and reflecting on this weekend. So thank you.
My pleasure. Were you one of those kids who always had your hand up? Yeah, me too. I can remember one teacher would put me at the back because I was just like so aggressive with all my questioning. I'd love to hear from our audience, and please put in the chat box for those of you that are in the Zoom room. And welcome. I see so many of our friends from San Rafael and British Columbia and Santa and Alabama, all over the world. Put in the chat box if you were here last night for Raquel's show. I'm curious how many of you saw that and what stood out for you. And I'm also curious who tuned into the Twin Ray show that we live streamed the Twin Ray today. They were doing a satsang from their new space in the Haven, and I live streamed it for them. So let us know. So thank you, Kathy said both. Elena Joy, fabulous show last night. So I want to see some of that comments in the chat box. I'm stumbling over my words today. Slow down. I think what I need is some Om Shar music, and then I can, because I've been getting everything ready. So I think, Om Shar music to kind of help us to drop in. Time for people to write in the chat box their experience. Twin Ray. Yeah, there he is. Hello, brother.
Hey there, how you doing, young man? And hey, Krista, how beautiful to be with us tonight. And the Twin Ray broadcast this morning was exceptional. And always whatever comes out of their hearts, it's just like food for me. And that's great. And so tonight I have a little song to help us go a little deeper. It starts off with an interesting opening. It's a bit of you can move around a little, and it's called Dark Night. And the night is spelled with a K, because it's about the divine consciousness that's emerging from within us, which is kind of asking us to reorganize and prioritize every relationship we have. And there's one line in the song, and it says, what does it say? The giant's awake now, and the giant is divine consciousness. That's what I've called the giant. And it's awake now, and it's looking around and seeing what it needs to rebalance in the world. And so without further ado, we're going to go into that. You can put it all in gallery view, and then we can kind of rock and roll a little bit with this one. It's you'll see, it's interesting. Start. So. Okay. What do I hear? Nothing. We need some rain. What's this feeling deep inside of me? New adventure, a whole new journey now that I see, and my head's above the water. I am The giant's awake now. His eyes are open, seeing into the dark of the night. I see glory shining through me. I am here, come to me. It's an open invitation. Whoa. What's that over there calling to me? Mystery beckoning. Could it be destiny? It's my life, it's my waking dream creation. I am clear, I am free, I am joy in incarnation. Oh, da-dum-da, da-dum-da, da-dum-da,
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Omashar. That was a peppy one. I liked the peppy.
Peppy ones, they're all fun. Yeah, it's I love to bring peppy ones, but I really need to stand up for that one because you kind of move around. I get visions of Cornflower standing up and just boogieing out, and that's one of those songs. So thank you.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. And we're going to have more Omashar later tonight. And speaking of Cornflower, we are actually going to be playing much of tonight. We're going to be playing video from a previous show that I did on Saturday Night Alive with the theme of relationship mastery. And Cornflower was on that and spoke about his relationship to creativity. So we're going to hear him speak a little bit and then actually hear some Cornflower music. We also are going to watch on video some of my absolute favorite people that have been on my shows that are also brilliant teachers. We're going to hear from Satyan and Suzanne Raja, David Pramal and Miten, both speaking about the relationship and also playing the Gayatri Mantra. Gay and Katie Hendricks, who actually wrote the book Conscious Loving, and Pato and Antoinette. And these are all four couples that have been on my shows multiple times, and I really love them. And I thought, since we're doing relationship as a spiritual practice, I wanted to play for all of you some of those excerpts. And it'll be kind of fun if you remember this, for those of you that are old timers who go all the way back to the Saturday Night Alive days, and you remember it, comment on that. Like Jerry Anderson is with us. I'm gonna put the spotlight, he's with us. The wild mystic monastery abbot Jerry is in Colombia right now. He's in Colombia. This man is always on the move. So it's
Thank
great to have you with us, Jerry. And really,
Oh,
really
we have
all
such a
of-
great tribe.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jerry.
I say we have such a great tribe.
We do. We do. And you're a beautiful part of that.
Okay.
Thanks, Jerry. So we're gonna watch a lot of these videos, and then Krista and I are gonna comment, and we're really gonna interact with you. Krista's gonna be checking out all the comments coming into the chat box, and I'll be reading them as well. And then we also have one other live presenter with us, and that's my friend Dolphin. And there he is. Let me bring him up. Dolphin, who you've seen on the show before. Beautiful lighting, Dolphin. Oh my God, the camera looks great. And he is the co-founder of RelationFlix. So who better to comment on relationship mastery and relationship as a spiritual practice? Two things qualify him. One is he is the co-founder of RelationFlix, but even more than that, he's the father of a toddler. And that is a great way to learn about relationship, I would imagine. So it's good to have you with us, Dolphin.
Thanks, Scott. Always good to be here.
All right. All right, so we're going to go right to one of the videos. And the video I'm going to show you is of Satyan and Suzanne Raja. They're friends of mine. I've been to their home up in Vancouver, British Columbia, and they run Warrior Sage. And he's a martial arts master, but he's also kind of a Tony Robbins type in that he consults with the rich and the famous and really helps people to achieve their highest results. And she's an internationally known pioneer in the women's transformational movement. They've been married for over 40 years, raised 2 children, and they're a beautiful couple. So let's hear what they have to say.
Well, first of all, it's always a blessing, Brother Scott, and you and Deborah and all the team who put this together in week after week after week for the upliftment of all beings. You just do this so fully. I want to honor and acknowledge that and ask all our brothers and sisters to acknowledge all of you and your team for this tremendous offering, because you're transmitting what I believe is the heart of what's needed right now, which is wisdom in all its forms. You've been doing it for you've been doing it for decades, since a young man, but in this form, for I know close to 2 years, maybe even beyond. And what you're injecting is the essence of what Suzanne and I feel is the most important thing on this for us individually and as a society collectively, is embodying wisdom as the heart of all decision making. Our leadership is sorely lacking wisdom. We're coming from motives other than wisdom, and we know this. We can feel it, and we can correct this, align, realign, by making wisdom the core of our search, not attainment, not more stuff, not more metaphysical stuff, not more material stuff, but really, there was a time when aiming for wisdom, being wiser, was the highest pinnacle of life. And now we put monks in TV commercials and make them seem hilarious and stupid, and we've made it not cool. It's tough. But the thing about wisdom, it's eternal and always cool. It's the coolest thing around. It's the most sexiest thing because it's true. It's the most penetrating because it's real. And it's the most lasting because it's eternal. And this is our nature. And so I welcome all of us right now to come into our highest alignment, because we already have a natural tuning for it. Everyone knows this. We all are reminders of it in our own unique way. And I believe this is the time to surrender as much as we can the reins of control to the tuning fork that's already within, which is wisdom itself. What have we learned already? Not what we need to learn more. What have we learned already that we could apply deeper? That's the walk of wisdom.
Yeah, and you know, my spiritual teachers are my husband, my children. I tell you, if they're not my spiritual teachers, I don't have any, because it's a school of life, really. And it really shows me where I'm at in terms of my frequency. How willing am I to really open to them and to feel them and to be seen by them and to be really, you know, our children have our DNA. And so they are keenly able to activate the parts of us that, no one else knows, no one else can see, no one else knows about that, right? I can see others just going, yeah, we recognize that. And it's just, how far have we traveled spiritually when in your face, they're like, what, people pay you for this? You know, look you in the face and say that. And you're like, yeah, but I do so much. It's a call to rise. It's a call to rise. And really, for me, anyone in my sphere is my spiritual teacher. My community is my spiritual teacher. My neighbor next door that I don't know yet is my spiritual teacher. Each and every being that I encounter, if that is not my spiritual teacher, then I need to wake up. And so for me, I have the joy of each and every day, the joy and the reckoning of where I'm at by being in contact with others. And I feel like that is the thing that is missing and is an opportunity for us to deepen, is in contact, deep contact and depth of contact. And it is there, and it's in this universe where we all are, is where there's the possibility for growth and transformation. And so I bow to each and every one of you, and to my husband, my children, and those that I serve. I thank you for being my spiritual teachers to help me to be where I am today. Thank you so much, Scott and Deborah, for having this forum. You are blessed angels for holding this, for others to be able to drink from this well of spiritual alignment and upliftment. So I thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here.
A lot of people are now saying thank you. That is so well said, and I love that you know, we're going to be bringing in Yogananda and different people, but you know, you brought it down to like daily life so beautifully. It's like everyone we connect with can be, because ultimately it's all God experiencing itself as Satya, as Suzanne, as the different people in our Zoom room. So, you know, thank you so much for just that incredible reminder, you know, very, very beautiful and very, as I like to say, perfectly human. I do want to ask you to share with, you know, anybody in our audience who doesn't know about Warrior Sage. Tell us a little bit about what's happening with Warrior Sage and how people can get involved if they're not already.
Well, please, you're welcome to come and visit our website, warriorsage.com. And we have a whole bunch of content library. Our focus is working with leadership. We work with different companies, corporations. Leaders are on the forefront of making positive change on the planet, and we help them really come into their highest alignment and empowerment and impact, so they're able to achieve their aims in life, their highest intentions, taking the path of least resistance. So please take a look around. There's many shares and experiences from many great leaders, many great expressions of wisdom, and a lot of wisdom from many, many amazing people to drink from. So please come and visit anytime you'd like.
Beautiful.
That's Satyan and Suzanne Raja. Krista, I'd love to hear what stands out for you and what they had to say. You're muted, love.
Thank you, brother. Hey, I just absolutely loved where Satyan was talking about wisdom being the tuning fork, and not about what else we can learn, but what do we already embody on our journey. And that always reminds me too of how it comes back to the I am, what we already are, what we already are here to do and be just by being. So not always searching outside of us. So that was just beautiful wisdom. And then the other thing that I really just, I think everyone probably heard is just when Suzanne was talking about how everyone is our teacher. So whether it's our children, our parents, our grandparents, our aunts, our uncle, our neighbors. And don't you agree, Scott, when we embody that understanding, that life becomes more playful, magical, not, oh, whatever words you want to say about your neighbor, but what if you woke up and said, what can I learn about him, running his weed whacker at 6 a.m. in the morning or whatever it is, the things that really get under our skin. But how can we shift that and change our perception and our own reality? Because, we get to choose. And that's what's so beautiful about all this, in my opinion, is that we get to choose our perception. And when we choose that higher choice point, then what's possible for our own reality.
Mhm.
So those are some of my big takeaways, and I can't wait to hear yours.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. We were talking about this before the show started. The couples we're going to hear from today, and many of us heard from the Twin Ray this morning. I might play some Twin Ray at the end of the show. It's not on the agenda, but if we have time and interest, I might play some. But the Twin Ray, Satyan and Suzanne, Gay and Katie, Patra and Antoinette, these are all people I've spent a lot of time with. And they don't spend time ever judging. They don't go into judgment. And they certainly don't judge each other. The Twin Ray, I've never seen them contradict each other. They just keep lifting each other up. And that, since we're talking about relationship as a spiritual practice, there is a practice. How often am I criticizing? How often am I having critical thoughts? And then how often am I voicing those critical thoughts? And what does that really do? What does that create? What does that bring into the field? Now, sometimes when I talk about not being judgmental, people say, well, you got to make choices, and sometimes you have to be discerning. Absolutely. Discernment, yes. Judgment, no. I can say, thank you for the invitation, but I don't want to attend your class, without saying, I don't believe in that shit that you teach, right? As an example. It's like we can have discernment we don't need to add judgment to it. And these couples are at a high level of practicing that. I'm going to see more, and we'll talk more about that. And actually, I want to get right into our next set of couples. So way back in December of 2020, so that's almost more than a year and a half ago, we did a Saturday Night Live on relationship mastery. And I had 3 couples, Gay and Katie Hendricks, who were conscious loving. They've been married for 40 years. David Pramal and Nitin, who my wife knew them way back in India. And then when my wife was alive, we traveled with them to India for 3 weeks. And of course, they are wonderful musical artists, and they've been together for decades. And then Patra and Antoinette, who you've seen on this show many times. And none of these couples had met each other before, but they had heard of each other. And it was actually really wonderful watching how they interact. So I'm going to just start by playing. We had an early Zoom room show where they all were getting to know each other and offering thoughts. And I'm going to periodically pause it, come back, talk with Krista, maybe respond to some of the comments. Any comments, questions that you guys bring up that are applicable to the group? It's going to be a different kind of a show tonight, and I'm kind of excited about it. So let me cue up that video. I've got it queued up to just after I've kind of done the introductions, and I'm now about to ask people to share with each other their thoughts. I'm going to do very little talking, because what I would love to do is open it up to all 3 couples to share what it's like to be in long-term committed relationship and finding that balance of connection to self, connection to source, whatever that might mean for each of you, and then connection to other. Boy, I love how when I talked about connection to Source, Pato just kind of disappeared into the ether. That was pretty cool. That's pretty magical. You did that. Wow. I'm gonna get on my magic wand and see if I can make you appear and disappear again.
Playing around with the backgrounds. You just discovered that feature.
Right. Do you know they have one now where you can add eyebrows, lipstick? Seriously, there's a new Zoom feature that's on beta where you can add lipstick, eyebrows, change your color of your hair.
Can we get your hair on that setting?
This is my real hair. So I guess I'll start with Gay and Katie. How do you balance those three and how do they interact for you? Connection to self, source, and each other.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. We wanted to let you know that we're celebrating this fall our 39th anniversary. So what we've discovered is that truly your relationship can just keep getting better and better and richer in all of these different dimensions, richer in connection between you, richer in connection with source and with the creativity that can move through you, and also being a source of connection for your community. And that's been really a joy for us, and particularly during this COVID time, is to be able to show people different ways that they can connect, even if they can't be together in person.
One of the things that we work on all the time is how to keep the flow of connection and the flow of creativity going all the time, because what we teach in our seminars is a form of continuous renewal so that you're always having the relationship over and over again for the first time, even though you may have been together almost 40 years.
Yeah, that whole experience of, that thrill. I mean, it's really been amazing that I still feel that same thrill when you walk into the room that I did, more than 40 years ago. And whatever the trials are or the lessons are along the way, they're absolutely worth it to create more and more of a space where you can share your essence, who you really are, and that the relationship itself helps to reveal more and more of who you are individually, but also who you can be together.
As I'm hearing that, what I'm imagining is that you are both still very curious about each other. You've been able to maintain curiosity. So instead of, oh, that's Gay, he'll never change, it's like, oh, wow, what's Gay doing today? What's he up to today? Or why is she doing that? Why is she thinking that way? Is that a big part of it, maintaining curiosity?
In my case, it's just 40 years of flat out wonder that I get to be married to this amazing woman.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. I'm gonna add Deva and Mitten to the spotlight, and Pato and Antoinette, and just have you riff on whatever comes up for you, even on what you just heard them share. Anything you'd like to? Well, how does that inspire you, or how does that sound similar to your experience?
I kind of find it kind of ironical that we're talking like this, because honestly, I think I can speak for Deva here. We have no idea. It's just happened to us, and we've ridden this wave from the get-go. We've never, honestly, we've never hit a crisis.
Wow.
This is 30 years now, 30 years. And I'm not taking any, in any way, any kind of, I'm not credit for this, because we didn't work at it. Honestly, we haven't had to work at it. And I think that's one of the reasons that is because we have 23 years age difference. And we got together in Osho and Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh Ashram. When Deva was 20, we were there learning meditation. I was already 43, and we became friends. And then, because I was involved in music in the ashram, I invited Deva to sing with me, and we began a friendship. we began a friendship, and Dave was, we are understanding of each other, that we're absolutely free to live whatever needs to be lived in this lifetime and support that as friends, and that it's lasted 30 years and it's a sexual relationship is like you were saying, man, we're very lucky people. You get to be the most beautiful woman in the world, and I get to get with the one who sings. This is good.
You know, I'm wondering, 30 years without really hitting a crisis, how much of that do you attribute to your spiritual practice?
I think it's just luck.
Wow.
I was just having the thought that because you are, you practice your creativity together so regularly, that letting that creative wave through you and that you both get to participate in that must just be delicious to be in, and can also allow you to express whatever is wanting to be expressed without having it become any kind of a crisis.
Yeah, when we sing, we make love. It's a tantric expression of our connection. We close our eyes and we're gone. And you know, when you're singing the mantras, you have no control. Those guys, when you rub that genie lamp and it comes out, you just hold on. And that's the way it is with mantras. So, you know, they can, right now you've asked us, can we play the Gayatri, but I don't know if it's going to stop in 15 minutes or what. So I just want to warn you, you know. I promise you David will be watching the clock.
Well, definitely you can take us away, and don't be too concerned about that. Otto, Antoinette, I'm seeing you smiling as you're listening to them speak. What comes up for both of you? Anything you want to share?
Sure. I mean, I like what you said earlier before about first, source, and center. I think that is our inspiration, that we are both focused on God, and that we both have the same shared values, along with our creativity. During this time of COVID, we've actually spent a lot of time in the studio. We've been working on a lot of music, writing a lot of music. So, and it's really nice that because everything else is kind of shut down, that we can actually work together. We have the studio here in the house, you know, so I could create music all day, all night. I can, you know, whatever comes to me, because I'm the kind of person who will stay up until 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. He's my engineer. He's the one who's teaching me how to work all the Logic programs, how this stuff works together. So, and he's creative in so many other different ways. So we actually work together as a producing duo. And as a musical thing, as a producing duo, we're also a producing duo as far as our ministry is concerned, our personal life, and then our relationships on how we interact with other people, that yin and yang kind of balance.
You know, you just brought up a wonderful word that I think is applicable for all three couples, and that is ministry. And, you know, definitely, you know, there's the old
pause here before we get into the ministry question, because we've already heard some of the wonderful things. And there's a good question that Krista and I are going to address about jealousy. But before we talk about jealousy, anything that jumped out at you? And likewise, love to see feedback from the audience. I liked what Dr. Laura said about their harmony is absolutely based in their spiritual and creative processes. Krista, what would you like to riff on? You're muted.
Thank you. I would just love to piggyback, as well as what Dr. Laura just had commented on, that, you know, when I think in relationship, whether, you know, here we're talking about those who are in partnership, but whether it's that or whether it's a relationship where it's a friendship or a business partnership, you know, when we have those things in common that we love to do, then we find that harmony with each other. And that's where the flow happens, and where we just get to be in that more creator, like with God sort of vibration. And that's what's so beautiful, no matter what type of relationship it is. that's where that harmony gets to flow. So I really love that. And I witness it and experience it, embody it in my own relationships. You know, I'm not in sacred partnership right now, but in a business partnership, I experienced that. In friendship, I'm experiencing that. So it's beautiful to have that interaction and also come from that place of divine love for that other person and know those things that we have in common. Because I think when we don't have things that we enjoy, you know, for them, it's their music, right? And that they can come together, and that's like a prayer, how they express and how they connect heart to heart as well.
Beautiful. I'm going to read what Jeff just wrote, and then we'll talk about this question about jealousy. Jeff wrote, Lovolution is all about not only the fullest embodiment of your divine essence and potential, but it's also quantum and expansive, and what's showing up for myself and others is out of this world. It's so far beyond what we've even begun to imagine for ourselves, our lives, and for the whole world. So yes, we are the microcosm of the macrocosm, and I love Jeffrey always bringing the Lovolution part. He asked about jealousy. What are your thoughts? I definitely have tips, tools, and practices and thoughts around jealousy, but I'd like to hear yours first, Krista.
Yeah, for me, whenever jealousy has come up, it's usually around, for me, I'm just going to give my own experience. It's been around how some other woman looks or someone else's success. And so what I've learned through that, without feeling that feeling of jealousy, is to realize that everything is a mirror. So when I've seen somebody embody beauty, it's because I already embody that in my own way. And not to judge myself, but to realize that I'm really seeing the beauty in that person. Or also, if I see a couple that's just happily in love and I don't have that, wow, that's the type of love or relationship I'm going to attract, versus I don't have that. And then, of course, if there's success, like, wow, you know, there's certain types of success that I do not want, that I am not jealous of. But if I feel that feeling, which at this point, it's because I'm so aware of it, I don't feel that emotion of jealousy anymore. It's more of a, from an observer standpoint, and Raquel was talking about the observer too, when you step away from the emotion and you just become the observer, you see things from a little bit different angle. And how, as the observer, wow, I would love to have that type of success, or, you know, have success through a spiritual practice or a business. So those are some of my main takeaways on that. It's just to always see the mirror and how it's really a reflection of you and who you already are.
Beautiful. Beautiful tips, and really important. And I like how you identified the inner work to do to manage it.
Right.
You know, I make my day job is working as a coach, and mostly coaching couples. I do some individuals and I do some small businesses, but mostly couples. And so jealousy with couples, I want to talk about it from a couple of things that are important. First, it's really important to have clear agreements. Really important to have clear agreements and to have the hard conversations about what people's boundaries are, and making it safe to talk about where we might get jealous. There's a couple that I work with, and there's a 20-year age difference. And she loves to dance, and she's very flirtatious, and she's younger and juicy. And, you know, he would prefer to just be at home alone with her, cuddled up. And she wants to be out dancing. And we've had to spend a lot of time making it safe for him to talk about, because where he's coming from, watching her dancing sexy with somebody else really triggers him. In her world, she's not being seductive. She's not intending to be sexual with the other person. That's just her way of being. They have two very different ways of being, and there's not a right or a wrong. And I'm using this example because it's perfectly human that he gets jealous. She gets irritated by his jealousy because she's afraid it's going to threaten her ability to be herself, to be her authentic self. And so there has to be quality communication where it's safe to talk about our jealousies, talk about what our preferred boundaries are, and understand each other. And then if there are significant differences, maybe bring in a coach, or at least find a middle ground where boundaries are understood and accepted. And this couple, that's where we've had to work on, is working on finding a middle ground that they both can work with. So she can dance and she can enjoy herself, and he's not, having a terrible time. So jealousy requires, when couples are involved, quality communication, and then very much what Krista brought in, the self-work. Wow, why am I jealous? Am I comparing myself to that person? Am I mind-fucking, part of my language? So, these are important things, and these are hard things to work on. The last thing I'll say is it's really important to have the hard conversations. And usually what happens is we're afraid, especially we don't want to acknowledge that I'm jealous. I want to be cool, I want to be spiritual. But if jealousy arises, there's a certain intimacy to being able to talk about it with your partner.
I couldn't agree more. And when you add that aspect to a relationship with a partner, to how it grows and builds that trust and those lines of communication, so that you can feel safe in that relationship. And again, also in sacred business partnership, which I'm in with my sister Nicole right now, when something comes up, we bring it up, and know it's not always comfortable, but it allows us to have those open doors to having those conversations.
Thank you for that. And yeah, the tools we're talking about are not just for romantic relationships. There's some great comments that have come in. Shauna wrote, with jealousy, I think it's helpful to acknowledge that fear is present with jealousy. Where is the fear coming from? Rather trust others and yourself. Absolutely. Thank you, Shauna. Our Mystic Abbot Jerry writes, I say that honesty is the foundation of a good, deep relationship. Second, don't ever limit the other person. Give complete freedom to each other. That requires a lot of communication then. Being extremely real of who you are, not wearing the masks that we're learning to use. And then Mark wrote, I fell in love with a star belly dancer and lived in Atlanta for 5 years with her. Whenever I felt jealousy, I immediately would look at my own life and that it was all about me and how I was insecure with my own career. Interesting. And then beloved brother Omashar writes, from a metaphysical perspective, if you are sourcing your sense of self from outside of yourself, then you will be prone to all of the familiar pitfalls of relationship. Well put. Well put. All right, let's go back to our three couples because they have a lot more wonderful things to say.
Christian paradigm of ministry. But all three of you, all three couples, you definitely have had a ministry. It's just been a different form of ministry. And to minister to people, right? And so I'd love to hear, and by the way, for those of you coming into our Zoom room, we're having an early chat with our three couples. Please let us know where you're from. It's always nice seeing people from all over, and we've got about almost 100 people now. So yeah, I'd love to hear from each couple. Tell us a little bit about how you see the ministry of your work together.
Well, there was this one night before the fireplace. We were sitting in front of the fireplace in Colorado way back in the 1980s. And we'd been doing a lot of work in our living room, you know, with 10 couples at a time. And we evolved our work, but really hadn't drawn any attention to it. We hadn't written Conscious Loving yet. But one night in front of the fireplace, we looked at each other and said, you know, we really ought to take this stuff out to a bigger place. And that kind of manifestation resulted in an up-and-coming talk show host named Oprah Winfrey getting in touch with us and saying, come do your stuff on our show. And it happened to coincide with when we finally launched Conscious Loving. So we've had kind of a 30-year ride on that particular jet stream. But it all started with us kind of getting clear on what we wanted to do and what we wanted to express in the world.
Wow.
beautiful.
Mm. The opportunity to put love into action, because people talk a lot about love, but real love is really being able to be present fully with yourself, with what's going on, with what's wanting to emerge. And that kind of love makes such a difference. And it's something that everybody can do today. You can give the gift of your presence, really turning toward other people and giving your sensitive awareness to them. And to me, that is a ministry that all of us can engage in our day-to-days as we're moving about and connecting with people over whatever way we're connecting.
Wow, thank you. Pato, Antoinette, or Mitten Deva, any thoughts about your ministry?
Yeah, I'd like to say that when me and Antoinette got together, I was already on a journey of using my music as a tool for ministry. It was a lonely journey, and once Antoinette and me got together, Antoinette just took up the flag and started flying the flag of ministry. She probably took over from me actually for a long time, her passion to be of service to others. And then Antoinette encouraged me to start an online ministry, as well as our international tours around the world. So we have over 4,000 people in our online ministry now. We host 3 study groups per week, studying spiritual matters, on a Wednesday, on a Sunday, and on Tuesday afternoons, we actually teach children around the world about spiritual things and make it fun for the kids. And some of the parents join in too. So I actually am also involved in many weddings, christenings, baptisms, funerals. Today, we had a family call us. This awesome promoter that was our very good friend, very funny guy, very supportive of us as a couple and our ministry. He's just about to make his transition from cancer. And his family asked us to say a farewell to him today, which was very, very special and very touching. And we just, as sad as it is, we couldn't stop laughing because of all the fun memories he's left us with. So we don't normally get sad about death because we see death as a great graduation, and we encourage people to embrace it with joy and happiness and enthusiasm and anticipation for what is yet to come. And we told him, we're jealous you're leaving before us because we can't wait to get off this rock. We'll see you soon, and his family really have embraced us, even though they didn't know us as well as Rodney did, but they've really embraced us as a tool of encouragement for him and for them. So, we're constantly, as a couple, no one will call Antoinette above me or call me above Antoinette. They really call us jointly as a couple to be involved in crisis or in celebration. So it's really a beautiful thing when you have a partner who not only shares your views, but also supports your ministry in every way.
What a blessing. Thank you for sharing that. We've got just a minute before we're going to go live on Facebook, but I'd love to just hear from Deva and Mitten, anything you want to share about your experiencing your work together as a form of ministry.
Yeah, I feel it's been said really beautifully by you guys. It's that sense of connection, that's what we thrive on, and that's what we like to create, and that's what we swim in. And the connection is to self, to the divine, and to each other, and to create that community. And for me, the most precious way of connecting is to sing together, because everybody is contributing into that center that's an empty center, but everybody kind of sings into this empty space that then can kind of rise up, and it's the only time when everyone can speak at the same time, speak the truth, can be heard, and everybody is equal and contributing. So that's wonderful.
I think also just to remember that the mantras are scientific. They're scientifically discovered thousands and thousands of years ago. These people who were experimenting with sound and how it affects us found out that that's what a mantra is a certain amount of sounds that resonate in a certain way. And it's as scientific as acupuncture. The mantras are like needles in a way.
So they were just introducing mantras for people. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward, because back then we don't need to see the opening banner for Saturday Night Live and all the introductions. I'm going to go straight to them singing the Gayatri Mantra, which is one of the most magical and most beloved mantras from the Hindu tradition. So give me a moment to find it. There we go. Just trying to cue it up perfectly. There we go.
Contemplation, and they have followers worldwide. And I understand they're going to begin with the Gayatri Mantra, which will be an amazing way to open up sacred space for this very special show. With so much love, welcome, Deva and Miten.
Thank you. To sing this for yourself in your rooms and your temples. I'm sure you all know the words to the Gayatri Mantra, and we'll play for you. And nice to give you a space to sing. gracia di mani di unione ragionaia.
Shamno mitra shamarana, shamno bhavid varyamam, shamna indro brahaspati, shamno vishnu rukrama, namo brahmane, namaste vayu, twamiva pratyaksham brahmasi, twamiva pratyaksham brahma vadisyami, ritam vadisyami, satyam vadisyami, Tanmam avatu, tatvaktaram avatu, avatu mam, avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Join us. Om Shanti, 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 Shanti. A prayer for universal peace. Please sing. Please sing. That's my friend from India. I know exactly who that was.
Just such divinity. And I love watching how in harmony they are, since tonight's shows about relationship, just watching how, like he had said earlier, how they make love through playing music together and the whole tantric energy and element of it all. What stood out for you, Krista? And you're muted, by the way.
I definitely went somewhere, and I forgot that I was in a show because I was somewhere. So that just speaks to the power of their song and how their hearts connect in song, and this mantra that, like they said, it's just the sounds that resonate a certain way that bring you back to your heart.
You know, I noticed what you and Dr. Laura wrote about, and I'm going to actually share that I was blessed to have the experience you were talking about. I mentioned that my wife, when she was alive, she and I were in India with them for 3 weeks. We were guests of the Oneness University, and we happened to be there over the holidays. And on New Year's Eve, David Pamal and Miten did a private concert for about 20 of us in their bedroom. Basically, we each had like a little 2-room unit. And in their 2-room unit, we all squeezed in on New Year's Eve, and they played music for a few hours.
Magical.
It was an amazing
experience of a lifetime. And that vibration was when, you know, there'll never be a time when all of your hearts were aligned in that time, like you were at that now moment. So
Marcy Shimoff and her husband were there, and a few other people that were, you know, kind of part of this group. And yeah, it was a very, very special event.
Yeah.
Well, we have another live person, actually, and he's Dolphin, who I introduced at the beginning of the show. Hey, welcome, Dolphin.
Thank you, Scott. Always lovely to be here.
Oh, it's good to have you with us. And for those who don't know Dolphin, he is a Canadian-born author, transformational communicator, and a human potential enthusiast. I love those words. He's been coaching, speaking, and facilitating internationally for over 20 years. and he loves bringing his unique brand of transformation to people from one-on-one work to workshops to conferences and now audiences of thousands through his wonderful work with RelationFlix. And so welcome. Of course, RelationFlix is this new video subscription platform. We're going to be taking a look at it a little bit later today. And it specializes in e-courses and educational videos with a lot of teachers such as myself and Viraja, and a lot of the teachers you're seeing on our shows are part of RelationFlix. So welcome. And Delphina, first off, is there anything you've seen tonight with our guests that stood out for you, that triggered anything you want to share?
Yeah, for me, I've always been captivated by mastery, and I think the word flow is often used to describe mastery, and in a way, it doesn't really matter what domain it happens in, if it's art, if it's performance, if it's sport, if it's business, if it's lovemaking. We're all captivated by this quality of flow where the doing kind of falls away, the attempt to make something happen falls away. And so when I listen to people speak who are masterful in their ability to communicate or educate, when I listen to people perform in their ability to weave music together that wouldn't exist without them, I'm captured. And I think that in those moments where we're witness to someone else expressing in a state of flow, it reminds us what we all long for, which is to live in that state, to live in that kind of open-hearted, present, joyous state. And nothing is more satisfying to co-create that flow with another. So for me, if we want to kind of weave the theme of the show, spirituality or relationship as a spiritual practice, to me, that's sort of the pinnacle. And I think, like Satyendra said, it's not something to achieve or attain. It's something we can allow. And that's really what my work is about. And I think anyone who's really wanting to participate in human transformation, we want to create that space of flow, because it is the space of play. It is the space of love. It is the space of full expression. So those are the pieces that I get all excited about, and that seem to be a common thread through the show so far.
Beautiful. So I want to ask you, how is it in terms of staying in spiritual practice, having a child that's young and requires a lot of energy? I'm curious what you've learned about yourself and what you've learned about relationship as a spiritual practice, being a father for the first time.
Yeah, it's a rich question. What comes to me, and this has been with me since I was quite young, and that is that spiritual practice in its most pure form isn't an attempt to do something. It's not like trying to be spiritual. It really is about a wholehearted presence, what I often call a full yes to life. And then to find out what does it mean to then participate in the flow of life where your default setting is yes. And so to me, the extra dimension of having a young child means there's less sleep, there's more work, there's less free time, there's less ease, there's sort of more of lots of the hard stuff and less of lots of the good stuff that we might consider when we think about enjoying life. And so the opportunity to become edgy or angry or dissatisfied it's easy. Like, I can see the off-ramps to those ways of being are they're not alien to me. So for me, the practice of continuing to warmly and lovingly say yes to life, in spite of it feeling difficult, more so than ever before. And I think what helps, particularly with young children, is that the meaning of that difficulty is obvious. I think one of the things that makes life so difficult is not the difficulty in and of itself, but difficulty where we can't make sense of it, where we're in pain and we can't we don't have a context or a way to be a big enough container for our pain. That's when humanity and human beings tend to really struggle and suffer. So for me, the practice is deepening and expanding my willingness to say yes in more and more uncomfortable environments and situations, and that there's a consistent outpouring and flowing of love and meaning that is more than I've ever experienced. So there's a kind of balancing, and then this is the beauty of life. As the difficulty rises for me, so does the meaning and the context within which that difficulty happens. And so then I'm really able to warmly meet it most of the time. I have my moments, like actually today, I was doing a bunch of work. We're getting some things ready for a long trip, and I broke a window on the house that I live in, and it was just the timing and just, yeah. So I could feel my moment of, and then my son is right there watching me in this moment of difficulty, and yeah, that's what makes it hard, and that's what makes love so worthwhile, to find ways to stay open and available and receptive even when it's difficult. So that's my first answer to the question.
Beautiful. I want to talk about how doing RelationFlix has impacted you. And just as an introduction, I actually am going to go into a question, but here is the RelationFlix website. We're going to spend more time there. But if you take a look, there's a lot of amazing coaches and teachers that are there. Many of whom, you know, obviously Trish and Stephen, and probably about almost everybody here has been on my show at one point or another. In fact, actually, I think everybody has. But my question is, now that you've watched all these videos, you've got all the videos, you're watching the courses, how has your understanding as a coach shifted and evolved, hearing whatever it is, 15 or 20 other coaches share their wisdom, share their medicine?
One of them is that it's like, wow, there are so many incredible coaches out there. I've really enjoyed being behind the scenes, both capturing and recording content with the educators and getting a chance to do some of the editing and move the content through a system where we get it ready for the platform. And there's just so much gold there. And these people who have spent their whole lives learning about themselves, about communication, about relationships, and that there are 1,000 ways to the truth, in a way, you know, like there's no one modality, there's no one coach, no one owns the rights to the truth of what opens us, of what transforms us, of what heals us. And so I'm heartened by how rich and robust the current content we have is. And I'm truly excited about knowing that we'll never have enough. We're going to be finding new educators, new ways to reach the audience that's coming to the table, new ways to provide support and solutions and healing to the people that are really looking for the best possible relationships. So to me, like, we're at the very start. We just started the journey of this RelationFlix project, and it already feels really good.
Yeah, you've done a great job, and it's a beautiful website. And every one of your presenters, and about half those people I knew before you, but the other half I met through you. And like Erika, oh my God, I love the way she speaks and thinks. Everyone I've met through you has really been impressive. And, you know, I'm kind of the old codger of the group. I'm clearly the eldest. And I've really appreciated discovering how many next generation teachers I've met through RelationFlix. So please stick around, because I want to talk to you some more. But speaking of generations, you represent, and a lot of RelationFlix is the next generation. But I do want to go back and hear a little bit from Gay and Katie, because they definitely have been mentors to so many of us. They wrote the book, Conscious Loving, and they had some really beautiful things to say. So let's take a look. So many of us know them. We've taken their workshops. We've read their book, Conscious Loving, which really is truly like the Bible of conscious relating. They've been together for I think they said they've been teaching together for 39 years. They've been together and known each other more than 40 years. And what a wonderful blessing as role models of how to be in long-term relationships. So it's my honor to introduce Gay and Katie Hendricks.
Thank you so much. It's such a joy to be with you all.
Yes, we met in 1980, in January of 1980. And then we got married the following year. So as we mentioned earlier, we're just celebrating our 39th anniversary this month. So wedding anniversary. And we created our institute based around several key principles that we started ourselves to practice in our relationship. And so I think that of the couples I've heard from so far tonight, it seems like a lot of your practices just kind of grow organically out of who you are and what you're committed to. And that's kind of the same thing happened to us. Before we talk about any of those principles, I do want to acknowledge the other couples, though, because we've learned so much from the other couples, even though I've never met them in person. We've been to see Deva and Mitten live, and also spent hundreds of hours of our life listening to the music. So your music is in our hearts. And also Katie and I both, when we met, we both discovered that we love to dance. And so we've spent many hours dancing to Pato's music and bobbing our heads to reggae. And so it's very dear to our hearts too. So it's a real honor and a pleasure to get to meet all of you for the first time.
Oh, yes, thank you. And we wanted to share with you, it was occurring to me that each of us is an instrument. And I like to think of us as each instruments in the larger orchestra that we're all creating together. And that what close relationship can do is bring through us what is most wanting to be expressed by us. And the relationship can support each of us in fully expressing the love and purpose that's in us, and also create a space for evolution and continuous renewal so that we can co-create together. Because I think co-creation is really our next frontier, not just each of us individually, doing what we can, but calling on the creative force itself to move through us. And the more that we can do that freely, the more our relationship journey is just an adventure of discovery.
Going back to the beginning, we weren't born enlightened, though. We had, I think we committed every mistake that it's possible to make in relationships. So a lot of our early journey was based around finding out what didn't work. One of the things that we did early on, though, which has really served us well, is that we had seen how much criticism and blame caused disturbance in other relationships we'd been in. And so we made a commitment to each other after we'd been together for a year or so. We made a commitment to creating a no blame zone in our life, a no blame relationship where nobody criticized or blamed anybody else. And it took us years of practice of how to move beyond criticism and blame, because both of us had come from families that were very much oriented around criticism and
control,
jabs and ironic humor and sarcasm and things like that, that comes out of, I think, anger rather than love. And so we wanted to create a no blame zone. And so we created a practice that we've now taught to hundreds of thousands of people around the world. But I want to show you what it was, because it really saved our relationship and enabled us to go in a very short period of time to completely eliminating the blame and criticism in our relationship. So it's been decades since either one of us have said anything critical or blameful to the other person. So if you can quit blaming and criticizing, it opens up a tremendous amount of creative potential.
Yeah, so opening. So this is what we call the move, because most people get their juice in relationship by blaming. And so just try this out for a moment. I'd like you to point your finger and go, ha.
Ha, like you're catching somebody. Ha, like, I'm right.
And you can do it to yourself also. So you can and criticize yourself. And I want you to notice that gives you a little burst of adrenaline. It gives you that ha 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 feeling of being right. But that's all it does. And adrenaline is a short-acting drug. And so when it starts to dissipate, it probably already has. What most people do is increase the ha and escalate the ha so that they can keep getting adrenaline.
All relationship problems, all problems between couples are a race to occupy the victim position. One person says, you're doing it to me, it's your fault.
Oh, no, you're doing it to me, you started it.
And so that goes on for 20, 30 years sometimes.
And we are mistaken in thinking that criticism works. So most people use criticism because that's what they grew up in, and they think that that really works and the other person is going to benefit from their criticism. That doesn't work. And so we want to show you the move, which is to take your hand, take your finger and turn it into a hand and go,
As in, what's my part in all this? Instead of it's your fault, how did I create this at this particular moment? So it's a different way of looking into yourself. It's looking into yourself with wonder and curiosity rather than criticism or blame.
And here's what's really cool about this, and I love it because we have singers. This is your own internal song, because when you're making a ha, that is not generating a space of appreciation, but especially if you'll let yourself make it through an entire out breath, shifts you into your wonder brain. And so when you it opens up your creativity rather than recycling on your old problems. So the move, even if you lose it in the next minute, you can always recreate that and enjoy that space of curiosity and wonder rather than blame.
So it wasn't overnight, but over a period of years, we were able to just clear any criticism and blame out of our relationship. And that opened up a tremendous space for creative contribution. And so another thing that we learned early on in our relationship when we first got together was that in other relationships, we'd always seen the other person as an improvement project.
Right.
And yes, we, my job was to, especially when I got together, Katie, I was very, intellectually inclined, and
and I'm a mover and a feeler.
And I was always trying to kind of calm her down a little bit. And she was always trying to pep me up a little bit. And so it took us a while to learn to see the other person as an evolving work of art rather than a failed improvement project to fix her upper. And so, but it made a tremendous difference in the quality of life, because if you really see the other person as an evolving work of art, that's very different from looking at them with what's wrong and what can I help fix here.
What that opens up is the art of appreciation, which I think is a very undervalued art. That when I'm appreciating, I'm giving you my sensitive awareness, I'm actually noticing you as a work of art. And that appreciation is really a way of touching other people that opens up their own experience of appreciating themselves and expressing themselves more and more as a work of art. And so appreciation, moving from blame, especially into my main job is to appreciate you. And then what comes out of that also for us is the question that we often ask each other is, what do you really want? And how can I support you in creating what you really want? And we often ask that to each other about big and little things, because when you say, what do you really want? That's an essence question. That's asking the person's inner self, how are you wanting to express? And I'm here to support you in that. And that was certainly new for me, coming from a very critical family. To be perceived as a work of art was actually pretty challenging for me. I remember kind of deflecting it a lot. And as I learned to open up to that more, then what starts to happen is this flow of appreciation and creativity that can really create continuous renewal.
One of the things that Katie and I have always done almost from the very beginning of our relationship is we meditate together every day. usually twice a day. I'm an early riser and Katie sleeps in a little longer. So often my first meditation of the day is just by myself here, but we almost always meditate together at some point during the day. And that's been incredibly helpful because it establishes our relationship in that kind of vast ocean of pure consciousness that meditation affords. And so it enables us to kind of be together in a way that I was never able to be with somebody ever before. Another thing that's so important, I think, in a relationship is cultivating some form of inner inquiry, to be alive to yourself, always to be learning about something in yourself. I was sent recently, a colleague sent me a study, a scientific study that kind of made what's left of my hair stand on end, which was a study done in Australia. And they simply asked people to go in a room and be alone with their thoughts for 10 minutes, okay? However, at any point, you could give yourself a painful electric shock and get out of the 10 minutes of being by yourself alone with your thoughts. And they found that 75% of men elected to give themselves a painful electric shock so they wouldn't have to be alone with their thoughts for 10 minutes, and 25% of the women, which I think is a very hopeful thing. I've always said that women are really leading us to enlightenment, and our job is to appreciate women, not to try to control them or teach them anything or anything like that, but just to kind of be with what women are up to and see if we can join the party. And but I was disturbed that 75% of my fellow men were willing to give themselves a zap to end their period of 10 minutes, which doesn't seem like a lot to me, but there it is. So we have our work cut out for us to get to a point where a large part of humanity is loving themselves enough that they can go deeply inside and honor themselves without running across a wall of blame and criticism in there.
Wonderful. As you were saying that, I was reminded of what I think of as the baseline of our relationship, which is that we agreed that we were going to be totally authentic with each other. And we agreed that we were each going to wonder if something came up. We were going to wonder, what does this have to do with me? Well, how did I create this? How can we create something different? But at the very heart of how much I respect you is that I know that you're always going to tell me the truth.
Yeah, that's a key thing, because it's hard to learn how to do that. You know, I grew up in a society where men, at least in my part of the world, were taught to kind of stuff everything down inside. So I remember just one day life changing when I was able to say, I'm scared. You know, just that little 10-second thing, which I'd never been able to say before. It changed everything for me, because I was no longer trying to pretend to be anything else. And, you know, now we tell our people that come to our seminars, we help them learn how to talk about their emotions in the same kind of voice that you'd talk about anything else, you know, to talk about I'm scared or I'm sad or I'm angry, but to let yourself know that that's a natural, normal thing, something that's actually lovable in ourselves rather than something that needs to be stuffed down away.
I was also thinking that I was referring back to Deva Premal and Mitten and the sense of your dance as you're singing together and what is coming through you and around you. I think that space of really being able to be open to each other, and I can really experience the whole cosmos through you, because you let me love you. You let me all the way in and through you. And so I get to experience the divine with you, but also through you. And that dance of, you know, being myself and then being together and then being out in the cosmos and then being myself and then being together is probably the most delicious. It is certainly more delicious than anything I ever imagined that could happen. And such an opportunity for all of us humans to really let love be an action rather than a thing. That love is the continuous turning toward and presencing what's coming up and being with that and seeing what wants to happen next. And I find it just the most, it's the most delicious. Sometimes I lose words, but fortunately I got to the end of my sentence.
We always say the most important sex organ is this one, the ability to open up and be transparent to whatever is, because that in itself generates and tunes you into life energy itself. How are we doing on time, Maestro?
I think we're coming right up to the very end here. We got 30 seconds.
Oh, good.
Well, you're doing great. I'm going to extend our time because I got to ask you a question. First of all,
okay, great.
So beautiful, everything you're sharing. And I just want to acknowledge that there's a wonderful theme emerging, which is he can be safe because they're seeing each other as works of art, as opposed to in the blame, shame, judgment, criticism cycle. And, you know, as a relationship coach, look, differences are going to happen in all relationships. We argue, fight, and get hurt when we go into that blame, shame, judgment, criticism. But look at how beautiful it is when a couple has established a baseline of safety, and then the safety makes it okay. Then he can be honest. I'm scared. I'm hurting. I'm vulnerable. And so I just really wanted to acknowledge the beauty of that. And then my question was inspired by what you just talked about, Katie, the beautiful dance of being within your own energy, merging with your beloved, merging with the divine, coming back to self. And the question that came up is very often when people merge, which feels great, the hard part is how to come back to self. Yes. Without creating an argument or a fight. What's your trick for that?
Well,
it's a practice.
It's a practice, not a trick. But the concept is that human beings have a deep urge to merge, and we have an equally deep need to individuate, to have our own direct relationship with universal energy, and then have it flowing through another person. And so knowing that is really important. Practicing it is where the trick comes in. Because, that's why I think we have such an advantage, because we meditate together. We go into space while we're in relationship. And so that kind of never goes away.
The key is noticing the body sensations, because your head is the last to know. Body sensations get to your brain much faster. So the body sensations that will let you know, I want some space. That's usually the issue, because people think relationship is all about being close. But the healthy relationships require that individual just being open to the universe and your own presence with yourself, your own self-love. And one of the signals might be, for example, just a little bit of irritation, or just a little bit of feeling withdrawn. And if you don't catch those signals, then usually people will create an argument or something to get
individuated the hard way, the person away. We have a commitment that's in Conscious Loving, and another one of our books, The Conscious Heart, which is, I commit to feeling the flow. I forget how we worded it.
I commit to being close.
Being close and to individuating at the same time.
Yeah.
The two things go on at the same time, because you see, in the first 6 months of life, we're all into union. Then in the second 6 months of life, we start crawling, individuating, exploring, but we need that base to come back to over and over again. And if you watch a baby and its parents in the first 6 months, it'll be a lot of clinging to, but then in the second 6 months, it's a lot of exploring. And the same thing must happen throughout our lives, that it's partly about getting lost completely in union, and it's also being lost completely in the universe as an individual being at the same time.
Wow. I'm just so grateful for the incredible wisdom, and I want to encourage everybody, share this out on Facebook. Tell everybody to go back and watch the beginning. And of course,
so much wisdom.
And just watching, talk about masters, Dolphin brought up masters and really enjoying mastership. That's what I'm witnessing with those two. They have really reached a level of mastery in their relationship and in their ability to communicate about kind of everyday human stuff, but how they manage it. So there's been great comments in the chat box. Of course, I want to hear from Dolphin and from Krista. What stands out for you, or what do you want to riff on? Krista?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
All right. Well, I just want to comment that their relationship is absolutely adorable. The way that they adore each other just inspires me in such a beautiful way. So it was fun and just heartwarming to watch their engagement, not only with themselves, but how they were speaking to the audience. But I just love to, just a couple notes I took, not blame, not anger. And when we're choosing to not choose those emotions of blame or anger in any form of relationship, we can become curious. So that quote, "Get curious, not furious," came up for me. And I thought that that was a really great thing to remember. Let's find something greater in this than the resentment. And, just going back to the concept of, we don't have to react, but we can respond.
Mm-hmm.
And those bring very different emotions. And again, that came through from the Twin Ray this morning. So I also wanted to say that I just loved how they brought the aspect of support for each other. How can I support you? How can I love you in this moment? And, and connect in the field, the way that they connect through meditation. Choosing to have that daily spiritual practice is such a huge initiator in lighting the flame for every single day, whether it's a personal practice or whether it's one that you do with the Divine Beloved. So I just found that really inspiring as well, because that also just speaks to the volume of how they connect, not only with their hearts through the meditation and how they connect to the quantum field, but how they're connecting, in the physical. It all is connected. So those are just some of my takeaways, and absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Dolphin, I'm eager to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to hopefully seamlessly pick up what Krista was saying. She was just talking about how everything is connected, and I really love the word integration. And when I listen to them speak, when I hear their words, when I experience them, there's a sense of everything being included. So they talk about oneness and this sort of the relationship with cosmic truth and the joy of being. And they really beautifully include all the human stuff, the emotions, the thoughts, the feelings, doing it wrong, making mistakes, making messes, and then cleaning them up. I think we can get in trouble when we kind of idealize sort of what relationship as a spiritual practice is or looks like, and we can sort of vilify the humanness that's often there. And so to me, I just love their inclusivity of the ethereal, the spiritual, the cosmic, but also the corporeal, the human, the tangible, day to day. How do we find each other? How do we say the things that matter to us? How do we make room for our partner to know that they're seen and loved and appreciated, and that we're a participant in creating something together? And I love how practical they are. They give you stuff that's like, hey, if you do this every day, it'll make a huge difference for you. Those are the kinds of things that I trust that they're going to give. So they give context, they give perspective, they have wisdom, and they also have really practical pieces that they give us that we can implement and love as an action, for sure. And I think we've all heard it, but I think there's still lots of old programming and conditioning where love is somehow a thing. It's a noun. And the more we recognize that love is a way to be and a way to move, an action, I think the more agency we feel and the more recognition we have of our capacity to love, even in the midst of what's uncomfortable or difficult about relationship. And to me, that makes all the difference. Otherwise, we're kind of fair weather lovers, which, you know, is fine for some people, but to me, it leaves out so much of the richness of relationship. So I just enjoy them thoroughly, and it was sweet to sit and listen with them.
Beautiful, thank you. I want to riff on one thing, and then I want to respond to something that came up in the chat box from Dia. Let's just all take this inspiration from seeing these masters. And I want to invite all of us this week to just practice noticing when we're having judgmental thoughts, when we're having critical thoughts, when we're tempted or have already said something critical to another person. Let's just really make that something that we take notice of. Because again, that's what I'm noticing, you know, with all of our couples, really. They're all talking about managing that. And, you know, and that includes criticism of self. I mean, probably the majority of us are more self-critical than externally critical. That's what I find with most of the people I work with. Most of the people attracted to Global Peace Tribe are more critical of themselves than others. So let's go on a judgment diet this week. Let's all practice that. All right.
I'm in.
Dia wrote something very vulnerable. I'm going to read it. She writes, and I'd love to hear all three of our comments on this. Dear sister, brothers, travelers in love, kindly comment on the luck factor that has been used. My husband's sudden death was 18 years ago. I've sat at the feet in real time and virtual Zoom time of quite a few successful couples around the globe. Do I really co-create, morph, participate in directing my destiny? Or is it, as it seems from the perspective of the density ego, that merging with that just right mate, the luck of the draw? What's the truth here? I'm here, I'm ready, I'm open. Guide me. Namaste, beloveds. And just, I think what she might be referencing, might have inspired that, was earlier, David Pramal and Nitin basically said they just were very lucky. You know, they met when she was 20 years old, and they've really never had a hard time. And there's been a certain, let's call it grace, that they've experienced in their relationship. Whereas I think Pato and Antoinette and Gay and Katie are more examples of couples that had to really apply tools and practices to build and maintain a healthy long-term relationship. Obviously, Dia's question is on the philosophical side of things, but we can go there. So I'd love to start by hearing what Dolphin has to say, and then Krista.
Yeah, you know, I'm a lover of language, and I love to kind of pull it apart and make sense of it as deeply as I can. And, you know, words are just signposts. They're pointing to something. And so when we use the word luck, we're pointing to a dynamic that plays. And I think there's an element of mystery that luck represents. There's something going on. We don't have a full explanation of it. And luck is the word we give. It's like, if something's going on that we don't understand, and it's positive, we call it luck. To me, I have too much experience with the nature of things that, you know, life wants things to work out. Life wants to deliver what we need. And for some of us, we can call it grace, we can call it luck. We're born into a life where there's less turmoil and there's less turbulence and there's less conflict. It's not a better life. It might be easier. It might be more enjoyable. But my experience of it is that it has way more to do with the container we create for ourselves and for the life we live, as to whether we feel joyous and satisfied in our lives, not really the circumstances. And of course, the container we create influences the circumstances, especially over time. So yeah, my take on it is just that, yes, things happen that we can't fully explain. No, things are not fair. And I don't mind using the word luck, although I tend not to. I'm much more interested in, for us, here and now, with the agency we have, what do we most want to be and do? Everything else, in a way, is a distraction from that central agency. And it's that central agency that delivers us into a life that we are a full participant in. And when it comes to relationship, there are no better relationships than when two people come together in full participation. So that's my kind of initial thought on the idea of luck.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. I so appreciate you're very eloquent often. Krista, what are your thoughts on this interesting question?
Yeah, luck. I would agree with Dolphin. That's a word that I typically stay away from, but at the same time, I feel like they just used it kind of like as a grain of salt. You know, hey, we've had this beautiful life, and how lucky were we? And I could see myself using it in the same context. But what I want to bring to the conversation is how, you know, isn't it great that, you know, souls were destined for this experience and made that choice? So when you talk about the relationship that you're having, or that you had, that was divine, and that was the soul choice, and that was the experience that you were meant to have and that you came to have. So I know that the universe is the language, or the language of the universe. There are no wrong choices. If we think we're going to make the wrong choice, then we aren't speaking in that language of the universe yet, because we came here with these beautiful choices of lessons that we were going to be moving through and experiencing to step into our highest evolution and our ascension. So each relationship that comes, you know, because we know if we made that decision, you know, we may experience it with one person, but we're going to learn that same lesson if we ended up saying yes to someone else, because that was the lesson or the choice that we came here to move through. So I love the philosophical topics, but ultimately, you know, we were as souls destined to come here for an experience. And I want to just remind everyone that there are no wrong choices.
Thank you, Krista. Both you and Dolphin are saying, it reminds me of Matt Kahn, who's been on the show a few times. And, you know, Matt, his whole teaching is that everything that happens isn't to us, but for us.
Correct.
And I think it's an important thing to embrace, while balancing it with absolute compassion for the very real discomfort that we experience. Not going into a spiritual bypass, but finding that balance of having compassion. So for example, coming back to Dia, having compassion for the sadness of her beloved dying suddenly 18 years ago. My beloved wife died almost 11 years ago, and I miss her still. And I miss her, and there was a lot of grace to her death. And so I, likewise, I don't use the word luck, but I love the word grace. That's why those of you that watch the show know my prayer is always maximum grace, right? There's a grace that took place for David Premal and Nitin, that they got together when they did. And there's a grace always present. And when we're in gratitude and our hearts are open, it's easier to feel and experience the grace that's always available. When we're in victim and reptile brain, it's hard to see and feel the grace. It's there, but it's hard to see and feel it because our veil of victim, our veil of poor me, our veil gets in the way of being available to the grace. My wife's last breath was the greatest moment of my life so far. Because I had so accepted that she was going to die, that when she took that last breath, I could feel her liberation. I could feel the incredible grace that takes place when we leave our body. And she left her body in a beautiful way, with surrounded by friends, singing, and you know, it was a beautiful way to go. So there's grace in the room, and that's what we can do. Let's just create as much grace as we possibly can. All right, it's time for some music. And the same show that we were watching, Cornflower was one of our musical artists. And I actually asked Cornflower to speak a little bit about his relationship to creativity. So we're going to hear a little bit from Cornflower. We're going to get some Cornflower music. And then we're going to conclude tonight with Dolphin, Krista, and I answering your questions or responding to some of your comments. And definitely not just relationship with couples or romantic, but we'll start exploring relationships with siblings or children or anything you all want to talk about. So hit us up with some of your thoughts, comments, and questions while we listen to Cornflower.
Show so far feels I fully, my heart is just so deeply open, and getting to see faces I haven't seen in a long time. Deva and Mitten, I haven't seen them in about 13 years, I think, but we had a lovely connection at the Bobby McFerrin Masterclass in 2005, and that's where I really cracked open as a musician. And anyway, just getting to feel everyone's words, the resonance of the lived wisdom that each of these beautiful beings have shared. And you know, there's very little that I feel like I can say because they've touched on so many things, but I just want to highlight and reiterate some of the things that they said that really relates to my connection to self and connection to source, and then how that shows up through my creative expression. As you know, I wouldn't consider myself a master in anything. I feel like I'm a student in the Earth School and learning as I go, and feels such a blessing and gift to be a part of this world. And I was raised in so much love and was taught to share it with others. And so I think my journey in the Earth School so far has been learning how to bring that love back to myself, because I would give away all of this love, and I didn't fully understand that when in St. Francis proverb, in giving we receive, that we actually are receiving also. There's like a feedback loop, there's a circle happening. And I was giving from this very horizontal and external energy and hadn't fully tapped into where it was at, where that giving was coming from. And music, I think, was the key to me learning and remembering that truth. I would, whenever I was struggling or really having a hard time, I would go out on a walk and start to sing what was going on for me. And what was always so beautiful about that journey was when I would sing about what was happening that I was struggling with or challenged by, it would immediately drop me into my body. It would immediately connect me back to myself, because singing requires breath. And breath, I feel like, is the key component here for me, in that it really brings me into myself and it connects me to my soul. And from there, the music would just open. And the more that I could get out of my own way and my personality and all of the things that were considered wrong, but the gifts that those teachings were actually offering me was to get out of my own way and to reconnect with who I truly am. And it was through that that I find my connection to source, and the music is just the key to that. And so I've carried that through with all of my music, and I always open my shows with an improvisation. And so I'm going to demonstrate that here for my song. So I hope you enjoy this moment, and just take a deep inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth so we can begin from our breath. Da da da
It's amazing how music can just uplift us. And Cornflower does a wonderful job always with that, uplifting us into such a beautiful and high vibration place. And even though he's not with us live, I still want to encourage us to support him. And the best way to support him is by going to his website, which is easy to remember. It's cornflowermusic.com. And he provides a lot. He just had his birthday, actually, a few days ago. And go down and join his program. Become a patron. And definitely always put your name so you can stay in the loop with him. He's got new music videos. You can buy his music. You can buy his shirts. There's a lot of things to do. So please do support artists that you see on this show. All right, I'm going to bring Krista and Dolphin back on, and I'm going to let each of you choose. We'll start with Krista. Choose a comment or a question that's come in the chat box that you want to respond to. Krista, do you got one?
Let's see here. You know, I just love that Dr. Laura just was talking about how Cornflower's music just takes you higher and higher. And I love his ride. So I just wanted to say that I totally resonated with that. And I thought that's a beautiful way to describe the way that that music can move us, and especially his music. So glad that you could bring that to us tonight, Scott. Let me just jump into the chat here. I don't know, Dolphin, did you have anything right now? I can take a peek back.
Yeah, I mean, I got a question from, it looks like, was it Sean or Shauna?
Shauna.
Let me see, Shauna. Yeah, so she says, okay, Dolphin Casper, that's me. What does a person, me, do with feelings that I let my soulmate pass by? Knew he was special and around for years. I wasn't ready, I guess. How do I resolve the sadness around that? He was perfect, and yet I believe we have several possible soulmates. So, yeah, I mean, I've had a few instances of really falling in my life and feeling like, you know, that it was just the right thing, and I wanted it. And for a few different reasons, it just didn't materialize into a relationship. And so there's a couple of things that I would say that have been really helpful for me, and that I hope will be helpful for you, Shauna, and anyone else listening. One is sort of a perspective shift. Oftentimes when we feel deep grief and sadness, it's painful. It can feel all consuming. And there's often a sense of like, okay, well, how do I heal this? How do I get past this grief? And my strong recommendation, if I'm speaking with or working with people that are experiencing grief, is to really allow the grief to be in its fullness. Don't be in a hurry. And there's a couple of reasons why that's important. One of them is that for me, what grief actually represents is a level and depth of meaning that something holds for us. And so if we rush our healing, if we rush past the grief, we actually miss the opportunity to come into a deeper, fuller relationship with what matters most to us. So the fact that this person, Shauna, for you, represents some kind of high level compatibility. You know, you mentioned the word soulmate. What that tells me is that deep and comprehensive compatibility really matters to you, and that you found it. And then you even mentioned in your comment that you believe that we have more than one soulmate. And so, you know, the silver or golden lining, I would say, is that as you really marinate in the grief and the sense of loss and the sadness and the pain that goes along with it, what will naturally occur is that you will deepen and grow. Your level of wisdom and embodiment will develop as you give that grief its real space and time. And what that will set you up for is to truly be ready, not just as an idea, not just a choice you make in the moment, but like an embodied readiness to see, to identify, and to collectively step into relationship with a person that that really holds that kind of compatibility for you. So in a way, it feels like it's all set up to support you in finding the relationship you truly want. And that will, I think, necessarily have you needing to let go of any attachments you have to that relationship. It might be that that person comes back around. I don't know the circumstances, but whether they do or not, you get to cultivate your relationship with what matters most to you, and that will actually set you up to be the space, to be the container, to be the inviter of the relationship you truly want. So, and you know, there's other things that can be done to facilitate the healing and the growth, but the most important one is to really let in and embrace that grief and that sadness and that loss, and let it inspire you, let it inform you, let it grow you.
I love what you just said. I want to riff on it a little bit. I always appreciate the teachings of Rumi, who happens to be the best-selling poet in America, Dolphin, is a 12th century Islamic gay mystic, right? Best-selling poet in America for many, many years. And he teaches about the pathway of the broken heart. And so when we meet a soulmate, and I think most of us agree there are many soulmates that we can have, or do have. But just because we meet a soulmate or even a twin flame, it doesn't mean they live happily ever after. It often means that this is going to be the person that's going to provide grist for the mill. This is the person that's going to trigger you. Oftentimes twin flames become wound mates that trigger that which we really need to learn. I love the story. I think two fascinating historical people that clearly were soulmates were Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. And they were absolute opposites of each other. One was the second president of the United States, one was the third. They disagreed on almost everything. They were bitter rivals. But by coming in and co-creating, there was a beautiful harmony that was met between the two of them. And what makes me absolutely believe they were soulmates is they both died on the same day. And the day that they died, and this, you can look this up, this is a historical fact. I talked about it on this show with Marianne Williamson once. They both died on July 4th. Both died on the 4th of July, 50 years after the Declaration of Independence. They literally, and John Adams' last words, he was sick, he woke up, and his last words were, "Jefferson lives." And he died. And neither knew that the other one was dying. But there's a way they came in and co-created in a powerful way. But they didn't get along, right? I think Lennon and McCartney is another great example of that. You know, they eventually broke up, but they were so diametrically different. And that difference created this incredible combination of John's activism and intelligence and anger, and Paul's kind of melodic, life is lovely, everything's beautiful kind of thing. We came together and created something that's powerful. So it's a long-winded way of saying that you never know what's going to happen when you meet a soulmate. I'll leave it at that. I could actually tell a couple of stories of soulmates in my life that it was powerful, it was incredible, and it didn't go the way that I thought it would. So I'm going to go back to Krista and see if there's a question or something you'd like to respond to.
Yeah, I'd love to just add to that too. And I know the other day, Scott, when we had a chance to just talk about all that we're bringing this weekend through this topic of the spirituality of relationships and relationships of the spiritual practice, we were talking about our own relationships and how, you had this beautiful experience with your beloved. And I also just wanted to add that, the relationship that I had, one of the relationships that I had was what I would consider, a wound mate or that twin flame relationship. And the biggest takeaway I've had from that, because it ended over 12 years ago, you really never stop loving that person. But the lesson in it was, just because you love someone doesn't mean they're good for you. And I look back with full gratitude and just appreciation for now what I've learned and what I've been able to cultivate in my life as a result of everything that occurred in that relationship. And yes, it was tumultuous. And yes, it was, the deepest love that I've ever, had for another human being on this planet so far. And so that's my takeaway. Just because you love someone doesn't mean, they're meant to be with you or they're good for you in that capacity. So I love what you shared about Adams and Jefferson. I never knew that. That's fascinating. And it just speaks so much truth to this topic. And, I was just looking back, Dr. Laura, you bring so much question and just curiosity to these conversations. And I just want to acknowledge that, because you also bring in the side of things that question and allow us to go deeper. And so a little bit earlier, we were talking a little bit about how, the universe does not bring any mistakes. There's no wrong choices. And you also brought in the fact that, but what about the no's? With wisdom and discernment, you learn the no's. And I just want to resonate and reflect that back to you, that that's so true, because with our experience, we get to bring the embodiment of wisdom. And I think back to how, Gay and Katie and all these couples that we got to hear from tonight, that they bring many years of wisdom. And so with that, they get to, bring the no's, and, we just get to evolve into this higher place where decision-making is sometimes easier because of the experiences that we've had the opportunity to embody. So I just want to say that this show, Scott, that you've created here, and the way that the community and the audience interacts just allows us all to rise together in a way that we all get to grow and learn from each other. So thank you. It's beautiful.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Well, speaking of this community, and that's actually a good segue to something I want to make sure we talk about, and that is our upcoming retreat. So we'll be there. There she is in the photo with her goddess girlfriend, partner, Nicole. We're going to talk about the amazing offering that they're going to provide a couple of weeks after our retreat. They're doing another retreat, which is going to be very powerful. So Sedona is an amazing place to be. It is a very magical place. I just spent a couple of weeks there, reestablishing connection with a lot of the Soul Search people that live there. And we are putting together the first Global Peace Tribe retreat, and it's going to be amazing. October 21st to the 24th. A lot of the people that are on this call right now, a lot of our friends like Karen Eisenberg and Kiki, I know I'm going to end up forgetting some people that are here, Roger and Bonnie, are all coming. And please register now, get the early bird discount. I'll put the link to where you can register into the chat box in a moment, but it's going to be an amazing time. And it's built around, there's a super conscious music festival that weekend. There's a psychic fair. We're going to have at least a dozen play shops featuring people like Krista and last night Raquel, who you saw. It's going to be a really wonderful, wonderful time. So you don't want to miss it. We're going to provide also a lot of different options for lodging and for travel. We really want to work with you on it. Last week, you might have remember meeting Luana. She's part of Soul Search. She lives in Sedona. She is our cosmic, compassionate concierge. And she's putting together all the different lodging options, travel options, and that's who you can talk to figure out what your best options are. So please, please, please join us. It's going to be amazing.
Wow, Luana on that is amazing. She's going to be so pivotal in making sure everyone has a great experience. I just love her.
Yeah, she's a total sweetheart.
Yeah.
While we're on retreats, then come out for a month, right? Because there's our retreat. Then right after that is the Illuminate Film Festival, which I'm going to be hosting panels on. And we're going to have a whole weekend of Awakening World dedicated to the Illuminate Film Festival. And then after that is Krista's retreat. So Krista, this is a good time for you to talk about what you and Nicole are going to be doing.
Oh yeah, everyone. We just want to welcome anyone who's either a spiritual seeker, a spiritual healer, a guide, a light leader. We are all coming together during the most powerful manifestation portal of the year over the 1111. And those are the pillars, the gates of heaven. So Scott's bringing up the website. It's gatesofheaven1111.com. And I'm co-creating this incredible experiential event with my soul sister, Nicole. As you scroll down, everyone will get to see Nicole as well. It's going to be a 3-day experience where we are going to be coming together to activate the New Earth Light leaders and bring together conscious collaboration and, you know, just allow everyone to embrace their spiritual gifts and skills and to have, you know, wisdom from so many sisters that are part of Soul Search and brothers, including Raquel Spring, who was with us last night. She's going to be talking a little bit about, you know, the astrology of the Aquarian age and where we're going and what that means for us individually and collectively. And then having so many other sisters and leaders like Aurora Lunastar, Melissa Fike, Suzanne Ross, Ron Interpreter, Larissa Stowe, and more at this event. We're bringing together everyone so that we can all start to know that we are part of a huge community where we are rising together and coming together in a place where we no longer have to do it alone and bringing together a very beautiful experience. We are also having what I'm so excited about, a New Earth cosmic costume ball. So we want to bring play and fun. And when we talk about, you know, embodying this energy, it's really not just about, you know, staying, you know, of course it's about staying in our hearts, but let's play, let's have fun, and let's be in that vibration of how we get to play on this planet together. So that'll be a very fun experience. And thank you so much, Scott, for sharing your event with us and allowing us to share our event with you and your community. We're so grateful.
Absolutely. I'm going to go to Dolphin for one last time for whatever thoughts or comments he has, and then we're going to learn a little bit more about RelationFlix and also a little bit more about Dolphin. Take it away, brother.
Yeah, I'm just enjoying hearing everyone speak. I really appreciate with this Global Peace Tribe community just how active the chat is. It just reflects people's desire to engage, to participate, to give. So yeah, I've just been honored to be a part of it when I have, and really I love to respond when people have questions or are looking for particular insights or support. So, you know, I think that's my piece. If anyone else has anything in particular that they're struggling with or would like to see more clearly, that's kind of my magic, responding to people and questions. So other than that, I'm happy to talk about RelationFlix and anything else, you know, my work, anything else that wants to come through.
All right, well, let's talk about RelationFlix. Tell us more about it and how do people get involved? What's a good first step?
Yeah, perfect. So RelationFlix is a subscription-based relationship education platform. We launched this year, so we're fresh and new. We have new content coming in every week or two. There's a new course or a new sort of suite of content that comes through. So there's always something new. People can actually go online right now to relationflix.com, and that's F-L-I-X, so relation, RELATION, FLIX.com. And we were doing 14-day free trials. We've just extended it. So now when you go to the website, you get 30 days free trial to explore the platform, to play. And what our commitment is that what you come to in that first 30 days is just the beginning. So Steve Seva, my business partner and comrade in the project, we are in the back room working diligently to bring all sorts of fun things this year and next. So the things that are coming down the pipe, obviously more content. We want to bring more kind of artistic and entertaining and even comedic content. We want to bring the flavor of things that engage you, not just on an educational level, although that tends to be the focus. But we're going to start to do live broadcasting, which includes sort of reality TV, talk show style, call-in shows, all sorts of live broadcasting workshops that you can participate in. So this would all be included in the subscription on the platform. A writers community will be developing in the next few months. So there'll be articles exclusive to RelationFlix on the platform that you'll get access to. And next year, we have a bunch of interesting things like film festivals and contests and content creation challenges that people can start to become a part of the RelationFlix community. So if you're someone who wants to learn more about relationships, to heal, to have comprehensive long-term support to your own well-being and the well-being of your most cherished relationships, we just invite you to come over, hang out, play, get in touch with us, share, tell us what you want to see next on the platform. We're new and we're young, and that makes us really kind of flexible. We can pivot and we can add things as the community that joins us around RelationFlix gives voice to what they want to see and hear. So we're going to be doing this for years to come, and there's just going to be more value and more support for people that want to learn and grow and love and play in growing their relationships and their capacity to create them.
Fantastic. And in addition to RelationFlix, Dolphin has a lot. He's got a full life. This is the best way to find all things Dolphin other than RelationFlix. It's his link tree. And is there anything you'd like me to put a particular focus on or talk about?
Yeah, the thing that's most exciting for me is I've basically taken the last 22 years of working with people around empowerment and relationship, and I've formulated it into a long-term group coaching program. So this is lifetime access to working with me in a group setting, and a curriculum that I've developed that essentially pulls the most powerful insights and practices and approaches to personal and interpersonal transformation. And you get access to all of that perpetually. And there's regular group coaching and monthly workshops that go along with that as part of your long-term membership. And so if people want to join me and work with me long-term and get supported in their relationships directly, they can go to my link tree, and there's a Relationship Breakthrough Accelerator is the name of the program. And they can just click on the link to book a call with me, and then we can just talk. I can find out what you're up to, what you're struggling with, and whether what I do is a fit for you. So I would love to speak with anyone that feels like that's a fit for them.
Beautiful. There it is. So Discovery Calls with Dolphin. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your wisdom. And it's always a pleasure for me to work with you, Dolphin.
I love you, Scott. I love what you do. I'm heading south soon, so I'm going to come and find you. I may be in Sedona. I don't know if it'll be October, but we'll probably be in Sedona sometime in the new year. I don't know where you're based these days, but I'm going to come and find you for sure.
Oh, great. I look forward to that. We'll talk many times between now and then.
For sure.
All right. We're going to finish, as always, with some Omishar music, but just a couple more announcements. This whole weekend has been about relationships as a spiritual practice, and we still have tomorrow. And Krista will be back with me. In fact, I'm going to bring you on along with me here, Krista. We'll be back again tomorrow morning for the Sacred Sunday show with two more guests. My good friend Viraja Prema, who I've known for 15 years. She's a delight. And a new guest for the Awakening World, Diana Haworth. She's one of the evolutionary leaders. And we'll make it a very interactive time. And please join us tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock Eastern. And Krista, I'm really looking forward to wrapping the weekend up with you tomorrow.
I am too. It's been beautiful and such a great experience to be with so many beautiful people from the community, and also all those who shared, starting with Raquel last night and those tonight that we got to review, and also having Dolphin here. So tomorrow is just going to be a culmination of all of it. So I'm just really grateful to co-host with you, Scott, and being with everyone this weekend, especially on a holiday weekend where we kind of are a little bit more relaxed and just not so much happening and can really just get into our hearts.
Let's all twinkle Krista. She's been fabulous. Really fun.
Oh, thank you. It's been my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And there's a special extra bonus thing happening tomorrow. So I'm usually the one doing the interviewing, but Tangela and Alan want to interview me for a program they're doing. So tomorrow at 4 o'clock Pacific time, you can catch it on, there'll be a Zoom room. If you guys get my emails, you get the email that way, and I'll put the Zoom room into the chat box here. Or you can watch on Facebook, all the regular places where we show up. And I don't know what they're going to ask me, but they've got some questions in mind. So if you want to learn more about me, things I haven't revealed, join us tomorrow at 4 o'clock. I don't know what
I can't wait to see what they're going to ask you. I'm coming on.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm a little nervous, to be honest. So but it'll be fun, I'm sure.
Get in your heart. It's all fine.
I'll be my heart for sure. All right, let me see if I can find Omashar. There he is. He is.
I don't mind being called a she. It's all goddess. And I love the title to the bonus thing tomorrow afternoon, a deep dive into Scott. And Dolphin and Krista and Scott, thank you so much for tonight. I know I bring some music, but I am so filled every time I come onto this show. And relationships especially, everything is my relationship. My fess is that I haven't been in a intimate relationship for a decade. And so anyone out there? And hang on a minute. So I'll bring that back. I'll call it another time. And so every being that I come across is my reflection. And I thought that I had a time about a decade ago, and I thought, no more women. That's it. I'm done. I've had enough children in every port. And so now I'm just joking, okay? But what happened is I was suddenly confronted with my relationship with myself. Holy smoke! I didn't think about that, and so it's been a beautiful unfolding for them. And I think that maybe in the next few years I'll open up to another being in my life. And that being said, this song I'm going to share now is called "The Miracle." And it definitely speaks for itself, or should I say herself. And yeah, thank everybody on this call. I love you all deeply. I know we don't all know each other intimately, but we kind of do. I'm kind of feeling that. So here's an intimate song from me to thee.
I've changed like a butterfly. It's something very new. I'm feeling so alive, and yes, it's true. Nothing is the same. I'm bigger than before, and yet I know that I am still a child without a care in this new world, and so connected to you. An innocent new life, a heart so true. A dream that seems so far away is living here in me, freeing all the pain that paved the way. The miracle of love has opened up the door. Now I know that I am still a child without a care in this new world, and so connected to you. An innocent new life, a heart so true. Beating once again, I'm feeling so secure, and yet I know that nothing's like before. My mind is now at peace, no need to know the way, and yes, I'm glad that I am still child without a care in this new world, and so connected to you. An innocent new life, a heart so true. I'm still a child without a care in this new world, and so connected to you. I'm innocent and deep and pure and true.
Let's all turn on our cameras and twinkle beloved Omashar. Give him some good twinkling, some good appreciation. We love Omashar. There's Mark with his accordion. I love it.
Oh, that song, Shine On, available Bandcamp. The album's called Shine On.
And remember, everybody, the way to support Omashar is to go to Bandcamp and go to omashar.bandcamp, and or go to Bandcamp and find him. His name is obvious. It's Omashar. And he'll be back with us tomorrow morning.
Thank you so much.
The Sunday show. So Krista, Omashar, myself, and two wonderful guests. Thank you again, Krista. Thank you again, Dolphin. I'm going to bring you back up one more time. And thank you, everybody, for watching. You know, please help build our audience. Share these out. Share these videos out with your friends. Invite them. Let's continue to grow this wonderful peace tribe. And let's all meet in Sedona. It's happening in Sedona. Who knows? There's even extraterrestrial stuff that happens. So. All right. Take care, everybody. Hope to see you tomorrow morning and have a beautiful evening. Good night.
Good night.